I'm going to be talking about common angles, but most importantly the name of this video is going to be adjacent angles. The reason why I'm going to go over this is to give people an understanding on how to position themselves, what type of considerations to give to their crosshair placement, and to learn a way to diminish peeker's advantage. This way, I know I'm going to get some crap for making that statement, but if you get peeked by your opponent, but you have to force them to react, it's going to provide you that extra time for yourself to react in case of quote-unquote peeker's advantage. So let's go ahead and discuss this. We're going to look at a couple different angles. The other main goal of this video is to teach you how to look at something critically, how to analyze it, and apply it to your game. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible, and let's go ahead and start it. So this is a common angle, as we all know. This is something that gets cleared out quite often. So I would consider this right here, common angle. This would be considered an adjacent angle. For people who don't know what adjacent means, it means next to. So as you see here, we're holding an angle that's adjacent to the common angle. Now the common angle is to our left. The opponent is going to be peeking from the right. So if this individual, depending on their depth that they peek, we're going to see less of their body, since the direction of your opponent's peek is coming from across from the right, and the common angle is to your left. When they do not match up, you're going to see less of the body when they peek you, and depending how they peek you. Again, some of this is subjective based off what actually occurs. This video is going to be more based off of tight shoulder peaks rather than wide peaks, someone jumping out, and so forth. That comes down to reaction time, being able to react on your part. So let's get back here. So that your opponent is coming from the right and peeking a common angle that's to your left, so they don't match up. The directions don't match up on your screen. Therefore, that tells you that your crosshair placement is going to have to be a little tighter to the wall in this case, because you're going to see less of the body. Now, that's not 100%. Like I said, this doesn't. I'm talking about straight shoulder peaks, tight, not wide peaks, not jump peaks. That comes down to being able to react. So let's go be the terrorist for a second. Let's say if I come here and peek. I peek the common angle. That's the adjacent angle right there. As you can already tell, I see less of that angle than I do the common angle. So this also comes down to the depth of what the player peeks. So depth, as I've explained before, is how far you're away from this wall. I'm gonna be creating another video on this at the end of this week or next week, that discuss my article that I wrote a long time ago called Relation to the Wall. So depth is just, for the sake of this, is just how far you're from the wall. So obviously if this person's further from the wall, he can make a more tighter peek and be less exposed to that. So if this player makes the mistake of doing this, that's the adjacent angle right there. As you can tell, it's easier to tell from this side, is now as I peek this as a terrorist, peek the common angle, what do you notice about the adjacent angle? It's not that big. Also, it forces the terrorist to have to react to where you're playing. Again, it diminishes peeker's advantage. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Again, common angle, adjacent angle. The player is coming from my left and peeking in a common angle that's to my right. so the directions don't match up. So that instantly tells you, okay, I'm expecting to see less of this person's body when they peek me. And depending on how they peek me will determine, okay, I don't have to adjust or react, or maybe I have to. It all depends on how the person peeks and clears at the angle, if they wide peek or if they jump peek. But for the sake of this conversation, we're only discussing tight shoulder peeks. Now with that tight shoulder peek, as I previously discussed, is based off the depth that they peeked. So this would be the adjacent angle. Since the directions don't match, coming from the left, common angle to your right, you're gonna, that gives you the hint in your head, okay, my crossfield placement needs to be a little bit tighter than normal. Let's change this to cash real quick, and I'm gonna give you an example of when you're gonna see more of the body when they peek and you play from the adjacent angle. I really like discussing topics like this because it's very rare do you ever see someone actually talk about this stuff. Everyone just talks about normal stuff. You know, my goal is I want to make people better.
Lock and load. Let's go.
Okay, so this example I'm about to show you is where the directions match up. Okay, this is commonly held, commonly played, this angle. This would be the adjacent angle. It's next to it. So in this case, the player is peeking from the right to a common angle that's right. So when this person peeks, you're gonna see more of the body as opposed to over here. Since you're more out, you're gonna see more of the body. So this, you could do this two different ways. Since the directions match up, you could either have a little bit wider cross here, or have a tighter one and be playing for like a jiggle peek. And remind you, if they like jiggle peek you, you know, close up to the wall, and they try and just peek you with your shoulder, that's all you're gonna see right here, because that's all they're trying to jiggle peek you from. Here you're gonna see more of the body, because it's the adjacent angle, it's the advantageous spot. Now, in this case, this scenario, you're kind of between two common angles. So, this is not a good example, but it's one of the only ones, one of the few that come to my mind. But this is just to give you an example in the case of when a player is coming from the same direction from the right, and the common angle is located to the right of your position. You're going to see more of the body, and you're going to catch them off guard. This also is going to work for, I believe it's if they're coming from the left, and the common angle is to your left. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this gives you an understanding on how to position yourself, what considerations to take into your crosshair placement when doing this. I would like to note that this is a riskier play. If you miss your shot, the chances of you dying are pretty likely. Again, oppers can really abuse this. They can abuse this 100%. Riflers, it's a little bit harder, because we can't expect to one-tap everyone that comes for us. When I as a rifler, I use this to catch people off guard, and when I feel they're going to be taking my sight, I feel I have a better opportunity and chance to, let's say, turn a 1v2 into a 1v1 by getting the person who clears out the common angle, and then just piecing out and playing the 1v1 a different way. Again, that's not 100% because there's a lot of variables. I'm just giving you an example on how and when I used it while rifling. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be releasing a video discussing my relation to the wall. It's an article I wrote about 4 years ago in Source. It still applies to this game. And just be on the lookout for it. Have a good day. Thanks for listening.